Hi, I'm Charlie Frost and this is 24MX Workshop. In today's episode, I will show you how to change the engine oil on this KTM 250 SXF. So today in the 24MX Workshop, I will be demonstrating how to change the engine oil on this KTM 250 SXF. Now, there are many different ways and methods of doing this, but I will be demonstrating how I've been taught to do it and how I do it with doing my own bike work. So to do this, we will need these following products. Firstly, we'll be using the fully synthetic 10 weight 50 engine oil by A9 Racing Oils. There are many different grades of oil suitable for different bikes, but this is adapted to KTM, so we're using this oil. Also, along with engine oil replacement, we'll be using the 20 oil filter, and then ProWorks gloves to keep our hands clean. Also, the engine oil drain bowl, again by ProWorks, and then the funnel to replace the new oil, and also the measuring jug to measure out how much oil we're going to need for the new oil. With the bike being upright, obviously we want to lean the bike over to get all the oil out of the engine. So by using this stand, what we call the side stand, it will let the bike lean over, and like I said, we can then drain the oil into the bowl so there's no mess on the floor or the carpet, should we say. What we'll do is obviously loosen off that to allow the oil to drain into it, making sure that your overflow cap is tight so you don't lose the oil. We'll place that under the bike. You want to obviously make sure that it's going to be under the drain bowl so the oil goes straight into it and not all over the floor. So placing that there, like I said, loosen off the cap so the oil will drain down into it. So the first step will be removing this 13mm drain bolt. So by doing so, that will then allow the oil to flow out of the engine. So we will grab our socket set and also 13mm socket. Now with the engine oil, you've got the filler cap situated on the other side. I leave the filler cap done up to begin with and then undo the drain bolt and then undo the filler cap so it allows us air suction. So when you undo the filler cap on the right hand side, it allows the engine oil to flow out freely. So we will firstly slacken off the 13mm drain bolt, which can be quite tight, like so. Also, you will have a rubber O-ring situated on the inside of the bolt, so try not to lose that in amongst the oil when you're draining it out. Why is that not going in? Yeah, as you can see, it's a very messy job, but leave that one there. What I will do now is, like I said, release the filler cap situated on this side. So by creating air suction, it will release all the remaining oil. You want to give it a good few minutes stood over to let as much oil drain out as possible, because you want to make sure you've got as much of the old oil out to then replace with the new oil. So yeah, it's quite a messy job, but we try and keep it as clean as possible where we can. So as you can see, it's starting to slow down. Just wipe off any excess oil that's hanging on the frame. And then I will lift the bike up without losing its stand. I'll lean the bike over for a few seconds. This allows any oil that's hanging on the other side of the engine to move over to this side to drain out when we put it back upright. So without losing that stand, we'll put it back on there. As you can see, it's near enough empty. Just see if there's any more left in there. Yeah, so like I said, the last little bit, you want to try and drain as much as possible, but like I said, you can do it very thoroughly. Some people don't do it very thoroughly, or they'll do it quite quickly. But yeah, So as you can see, near enough most of the oil is now out. So yeah, that's probably the best part of a litre that has been drained out. So what we'll do is we'll put the drain bolt back in. Sometimes obviously you just want to check the filter is clean, no dirt or anything inside of there. So just give it a nice wipe off, get all the excess old oil off of it. And like I said, that rubber O-ring, which is here, that needs to make sure that it's still on the bolt. Sometimes they do come off and fall into the oil. We need to make sure the O-ring is still on the bolt to go back in, otherwise you will lose oil over the period of time when the bike is running. Like I said, just give it a nice clean before you put it back in, giving the frame a nice wipe off. Put your drain bolt back in, making sure that the filter lines up with the guide bolt in the back. Slide that back in there. And then using the socket again, we will now do the bolt back up. Make sure it's nice and tight. So that is now the old engine oil removed from the engine. Now, like I said, there's many different ways of doing it. I will now do the oil filter next, but by doing that, I will lean the bike over onto its other side. So when removing the oil filter situated in here, there'll be no oil coming out with the old filter, because when the bike's leant over, all the oil will be down the back, so nothing's going to come out and make more of a mess. Using this pretty cool little tool, this ProWorks stand, this is designed to lean the bike over. As you can see, we've got what I call the grip guide. So the grip can sit into there, and that stops the bike from slipping out when in the stand. So by doing that, and now lean the bike over, using that stand, like so. Now the bike's not going to go anywhere. It's nice and safe and secure using that stand. So for the next step, to remove the oil filter, we'll need an 8mm socket to remove the 8mm bolts, and also using the 22 oil filter provided, we will replace that now. We will remove the oil filter cap by undoing these two 8mm bolts. When removing the bolts, try your best not to lose them down in the engine, because I've done that quite a few times, and it does become a bit of a mystery when you lose a bolt. You don't know where it's gone. So try your best to try not to lose these. I tend to use a pair of pliers to remove this cap, just saves trying to pick out with your fingers. So I will use a set of ball nose pliers. So remove the cap, and you'll see the old filter. So we'll pop the filler cover cap up here. So using a long nose pair of pliers to remove the old filter, because it's countersunk into the engine, it's hard to get hold of it. As you can see, the old filter is very dirty and also very oily. So just a comparison, as you can see, the difference and how important it is to be changing your oil filter every time you change your oil, because as you can see, it's very grubby. So we'll leave this old filter here, pop the new filter in like so, making sure it sits back in like it did with the old one. And then the old cap, we'll give it a wipe off to get any excess old oil off of it. Pretty straightforward. Cap back on like so, making sure it's nice and firm. And then your two 8mm bolts, top and bottom. And then pretty straightforward, just tighten them back up. Making sure they're nice and tight. So that is now the oil filter replaced, and also the old engine oil has been drained out. So the next step is to get the bike back upright, nice and level, and then we'll measure out the correct amount of oil to go back into the engine. with a 4-stroke, it's normally about 1.1 litres. So with a measuring jug, I'll go just over 1,000 ml, which is a litre. Like so. And now is the fun part, is to now try and not make a mess, refilling the new oil into the filler hole. So using the funnel provided, we'll now refill the new oil. Sometimes it pays to be a bit more patient rather than try and go too fast, because sometimes it comes back out the funnel and onto the floor. So keep a nice flow if you can. A nice flow in action always means a cleaner job. It's always quite satisfying putting your oil in, because you can see the nice gold textured color to it compared to the horrible black stuff that comes out. You can let it drip all the way, or you can just give it a little shake like that. Any excess in the funnel will let run into there now. And that is pretty much it. Not forgetting to put your filler cap back on. Make sure it's nice and tight. So there you have it. There is how you change the gear oil, engine oil on your KTM. I will now warm the bike up for a good 5 minutes to let all the engine oil run around the engine, and the job done. Voila, there you have it. So just to recap what we've gone through, I've replaced and reinstated the engine oil on the bike, taking you from the first step of removing the old oil, removing and replacing the oil filter, then reinstating it with the engine oil provided, which we have used the A9 Racing Oils 10 weight 50 fully synthetic, which can be found on the 24MX website. I'm Charlie Frost. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next episode.